Mike, let me go 125 degrees different on the Lamar Jackson story. I understand that you have discussed it a lot this week, but I haven't been on. There's just 2 points I want to make. One is, I think one of the things that, to me, in listening to all the talk and in reading some of the stuff about it, it's always the equivalent of, in a 28-paragraph story, one paragraph 80% down into the story, okay? And that paragraph is this. Lamar Jackson, over the last 2 seasons, has missed 34% of the snaps due to injury. And in the 12 December and January games that the Baltimore Ravens have played in the last 2 seasons, Lamar Jackson has started and finished 1. And I had somebody at the Combine when I made this point. I had someone at the Combine say to me, well, if he had a new contract, he would have found a way to play in that playoff game this year against the Bengals. And I said, well, wait a second.
I believe that.
Are you saying... Okay, if you do believe it, then you believe that Lamar Jackson boycotted the playoff, an NFL playoff game, because he was dissatisfied with his contract. Okay,
no,
there's no
that's
other.
That's not how I'd frame it. No, there is a different way to frame it.
Of course,
Peter.
you wouldn't frame it that way, but it is the reality. It is the reality of it.
No.
If you believe that Lamar Jackson was healthy enough. If you believe he was healthy enough to play in that game and didn't play, then Lamar Jackson boycotted a playoff game. I don't choose to believe that because I don't know. But if you believe, there's no other explanation. How can you explain it any other way?
Here it is. Well, I'll explain it to you. Players play all the time when they're less than 100%. All the time. They find a way to play when they're less than 100%. Now, if I'm Lamar Jackson and I have yet to get the financial reward that I have earned, that I earned my second season. I was the 32nd pick in the draft. I have been paid peanuts, and the Ravens have not yet given me the financial reward that I have earned. And I have no security of any kind beyond this season. If I go out and play and I have an RG3 outcome in this playoff game, I've got nothing for 2023. I'm not guaranteed a penny from anyone. My contract is expiring. So my client will not be playing at anything less than 100% absent the financial security that he has earned. And if you have an agent, and see, here's what happened. It was a groundswell of anti-Lamar sentiment. And people in the media were saying he's not playing when he could be playing. And people in the locker room were like, what's the deal? Why isn't he playing? If he'd had an agent, that agent could have been calling up the people who were calling him out and explaining the situation to them. Now, of course, if he had an agent, he would have had a contract. That's where this becomes dog chasing tail, and it's a point that Chris Sims likes to make, and I think he's absolutely right. Some of the guys in the locker room were just exasperated by the whole thing because he probably should have taken the best offer that was on the table in August. Then this wouldn't have been an issue. He's got his financial security. It's not the Ravens' fault he doesn't have his contract. But when you get to the point where at the end of the contract and you don't have a contract beyond this game and you're not 100%, why would you play? So I understand why he did what he did if he was under 100%. It's just hard to sell it to the world if you don't have someone who's out there to explain it on your behalf.
All I will say about all that is, listen, if, whatever the reasons, he started and finished 1 game in the last 2 years in December and January when the games are most important. So to think, if you're Lamar Jackson, to think that you are going to get 4 or 5 years fully guaranteed, I mean, here's my, I guess my counter to that is a general manager who gives Lamar Jackson that contract. And if history repeats itself, in the first year of the contract. How do you like the job security of that general manager? What would happen if your owner called you in and said, didn't this guy miss all the games in December and January the last 2 years? And now he's got a knee sprain and he's missing time again late in the year. Why exactly did we do this? Why did you do this? Why did you sign this guy to a fully guaranteed contract? I mean, that is one of the parts of this that I simply don't understand. And I don't understand why it's being minimized by virtually everybody in the news media. But it is. It's being minimized. No one talks about it much at all. It has much less to do with huge dollars and all that, in my opinion, and whatever potential guarantees there are. It has much less to do with that than it does with the simple fact he's missed 34% of the snaps the last 2 years, and that should be a factor when I'm talking about signing a guy to the biggest contract in the history of my franchise.
Well, the problem is, again, without an agent, there's no one to engage in those discussions, to give the pros and cons, the ups and downs. And even though I believe there's a chance that Daniel Snyder and the Commanders are waiting for the opportunity to pounce on Lamar Jackson, I've explained it multiple times. I wrote about it yesterday. Above all else, it's the ultimate middle finger for Daniel Snyder to give the league office and his partners on his way out the door, because they don't want fully guaranteed contracts. And oh, by the way, whoever buys the team is the one that has to ultimately pay it. But let's assume that nobody moves on Lamar Jackson because he's just not capable without an agent of working out a deal that he would find acceptable. Peter, I think that Eric DeCosta very possibly will be in a situation during training camp where he has to choose between paying Lamar Jackson more than $32.4 million for this year and having Lamar Jackson not play at all. I think that is a step in this process that we are far closer to than we realize.
Mike, don't you think, because, listen, I proposed this in my column this week, sign Lamar Jackson to a fully guaranteed 2-year contract. Why not? Sign him 2 years, pick a number, $90 million, whatever it is, fully guaranteed. And he'd be a free agent again at age 28, 2 years from now. But then the Ravens would have 2 guaranteed years. And let's just say that Lamar Jackson is healthy as a mule these next 2 years. Let's say he's Cal Ripken. He's gonna be fantastic. Okay, then that would be, in my opinion anyway, that would be the perfect outcome for both the Ravens and for Lamar Jackson, because the Ravens would have given a guy who has been a really good player for them, an MVP, one of the best quarterbacks in football. They'd be rewarding him with what he wants, a guaranteed contract, for not the length of time that he wants, but you're going to get another bite at the apple 2 years from now. And so what I'm saying is, Mike, I bet Eric DeCosta, if the only alternative was 1 year, $40 million, or he doesn't play, I bet Eric DeCosta would say, pay him. At least in my opinion.
We got to go to break, but here it is in a nutshell. Now, again, without an agent, it's virtually impossible for this to get done. But 2 years of the tag at the non-exclusive level is $71 million. 2 years of the tag at the exclusive level is $99 million. And I agree with you. There's a number between 71 and 99, 2 years, fully guaranteed, no franchise tag after that, no restriction on going to the open market. They could work that out, but without an agent, the chances of that happening are somewhere between slim and none. Let's go ahead and take a break. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.